3 C's you need to become a great listing agent. You need consistency. Generating listing leads is a consistency game. You need to be confident. When you walk in and you speak with the seller, if you're not confident, they're going to see right through you. And that's why most agents are best at a listing presentation when it's a referral, because they feel the most comfortable. But one of the biggest pitfalls agents do is they treat that referral different during that listing presentation and they drop the ball with the referral. Right? You need to have clarity. If you want to build a listing inventory, you have to be laser focused on building that listing inventory. Too many agents just wait for the phone to ring about a listing. If you want to build a huge, big listing inventory, and again, I understand that's not for everybody. But if you really, really focus, like I want to have X, this many listings, you have to be clear on it and you have to have a plan on how to do it. Because people aren't just going to keep coming out of the woodworks to list. Unless you get to such a point where you have such a market share in a town, then they do. But it takes a lot of work to get to that stage, right? We're also going to talk, you want to be able to set up your listings, lead generation, and you want to be able to put it on autopilot. To constantly get listings, you need to constantly be prospecting. That's just the truth. I want to talk about a couple books. I don't really read books, as most of you guys know. I'm like an audiobook guy. 10X by Grant Cardone is a great book. If you want to talk about just really doing something and scaling it big, he's pretty motivational about it. He is a sales guy, oriented guy who started from nothing and has built a huge sales organization, and he owns over $400 million worth of real estate investments. I think he's great. So when I talk about systems and clarity, I think Good to Great is a terrific book by Jim Collins. Some of you, I know you heard this story. I always love in Good to Great when he talks about what's the difference between good and great, and he uses Eckerd's and Walgreens. Who here remembers Eckerd's? The Eckerd's business model was, we're going to buy up every mom and pop pharmacy and just get our name everywhere. Walgreens said, we don't like that idea. We want to be great. What we're going to do is we're going to buy corner property with an entrance and an exit on both streets to give consumers more capability, and we're going to build around that model. So the next time you drive by Walgreens, you're going to notice it's probably on a corner with entrances on both sides. That's the difference that Jim talks about between good and great. Eckerd was good, but never hit great. And now I don't think Eckerd's in business anymore. And Walgreens is thriving. So in the beginning, you just got to think about your business, about whether you want to be good or great. 2 other great books. I mean, this one I preach more than anything. It's Dan Kennedy, The Ultimate Sales Letter. This is actually not on audio, so you have to read it. I read this book once a year. What it does is he discusses how to write sales content. Whether you're doing a mailer, whether you're doing any type of sales letters, he will teach you how to write the sales letters. And what's good is even if you're not doing the print, just his techniques and stuff are great for any type of advertising. The better you get at sales content, the more leads you'll generate. Right? I have a stack of just listed, just sold, or I'm the key to the sale of your house postcards in my house. My wife saves them because she knows I'm crazy, and she knows I want to see them because I want to see how other realtors are advertising. Most of it, in my opinion, is weak. No call to actions, nothing that's going to inspire me to call you to list your house. And some agents do it pretty well, and the results show. So I have like the bad pile and like the good pile. My daughter's 3 months old. She's going to be, when she's like 3 years old, I'm going to be showing her these postcards. I'm like, what do you think? Like, Daddy, that stinks. Like, there you go. That's how I'm training her. But, so it's really important to know your sales content. So the Ultimate Sales Letter is great. It's an easy read. Like I said, I read it once a year. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber is a fantastic book. talks about building a business, and it talks about the difference between what they call a technician and a business owner. He uses this great story about this woman who's a baker, and she's like the best pie baker there is. She opens up a business, she struggles, and her biggest thing is she goes, I miss just baking the pies. And I think that hits home every time I read the story. Just because you're really good at it doesn't mean you can run the business operations of it, because it's two different animals. So that's a really another good read. This is a quote from Thomas Edison. I'll stop walking in front of them so you guys can actually see it. Being busy does not always mean real work. The object of all work is production and accomplishment. Seeming to do is not doing. Yes, I believe there's no magic pill. You have to work your tail off in this business, but there's a difference between being busy and running a business. A lot of people, not just in real estate, very much in sales, is they feel like if they're being busy doing something, that they're being productive. I think agents get boggled down a lot in stuff that isn't productive to help grow their business. So it's really important is prioritizing what's good for you and your business. Sometimes I say, when you have a lot of deals pending, you're not a realtor, you're a firefighter. Because all you're doing is psh, fire, fire, psh, fire. Deals coming up, psh, psh. You're in the middle of doing something, someone calls, you drop everything to go run and put out the fire. Now you're not being productive where you need to be because you're putting out fires. And what's happening is you get all entrenched in the 5, 6 deals you have, or 7 deals, however many deals. I got to get these deals closed. Next thing you know, they all close, and you're like, wait, I don't have any new business. Why not? You spend all that time making sure that stuff closes. You're not being productive in prospecting for new business. Now listen, I'm not saying you should be an agent that just puts something under contract and says, hey, if you close, you close. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you have to be disciplined with your calendar to set time for prospecting as if it was an appointment. Right? You got to treat prospecting just like you would treat an appointment to show a house. And the more you get used to doing that and the more consistent you get with it, it's funny how your business will grow. You don't want to get caught in the weeds. I used to be a waiter at Lone Star Steakhouse. It was like really embarrassing. I had to wear like a Texas hat and do like a Texas two-step, and I was like a really bad dancer. I was in college, right? But what happened is you got really stuck behind on your tables. The manager would scream at you, are you in the weeds? Are you in the weeds? I'm like, I am in the weeds. I'm like, someone bring the bread out to table 5. I'm like, I'm sweating in my cowboy hat. Somebody help me, right? I was in the weeds. And my tips got affected because I was getting boggled down on stuff instead of taking good care of the customer. You don't want to be stuck in the weeds in this business, especially in a cowboy hat. Truth, a specialist who digs deep in a certain area makes more money than someone who specializes in everything. Who makes more money? The specialized corporate attorney or the general practice attorney? Right? Who makes more money? That specialist heart surgeon who's the best at just doing the heart surgery, or the doctor who's going to give you the antibiotics? Right? I see some agents with the alphabet soup signature in their email. Right? I see the luxury specialist who's the foreclosure specialist. I'm like, that's like 2 different ball games, right? What do you specialize in? What do you like? I mean, Stacy, we had this conversation. I hope you don't mind saying this. You love with the 55 community and you do really well with the community. It's finding out what you're good at and really special. My specialized was always distressed properties. Whether it was REOs, short sales, people need to sell quick. That was always my specialty. I didn't go into a luxury listing saying, hey, I'm the foreclosure specialist, but I also am a luxury specialist. Think about it. Another truth, like I said before, not every agent is wired to carry 10 or more listings. And that's okay. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Right? And I get this too, other people have different goals. Handling sellers is much different than handling buyers. I say this all the time. The phone call you get from buyers are typically happy phone calls. We're gonna go see a house. I can't wait on Sunday. It's gonna be so fun. My husband didn't want to watch the Giants. He really wanted to look at houses. Let's go. We're so excited, right? By the way, me and my wife looked at one house when we bought it, and she just stared at me. She goes, you robbed me of the experience. I said, you're not missing much, right? Buyers are happy. I love it. This is great. This is everything I wanted. You're the best. Thank you. Like, yeah, I am the best. Thank you. You're welcome. Sellers, day one on the market. This agent was in my house and didn't wipe their shoes. There's smudge on the ground. What's wrong with you? I listed you to get me top dollar. Good morning to you. Right? And we laugh, but it's true. Right? Who's had the seller call you and say, hey, why is the light left on in my half bathroom? Are you going to pay the electric? Sorry. Right? Who's doing this? Hey, I got great news, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I got you full price on day 2. Oh, I knew he listed this too low. Let's bump the price. Right? Now imagine 10 of those phone calls throughout your day. It could ruin your day. But the buyer, I'm going to say a caveat with the buyer. They're all usually humming and humming good till you get to inspection contingency. Right? I'm not paying that $200 to fix that guardrail, whatever it is. You know, I'm like, okay, I get it, right? So that's what I'm saying. Not everybody wants to or can handle those 10 phone calls, 20 phone calls from the angriest seller, right? When I was doing the REO, my goal was always to make the sellers, the asset manager for the bank's life easier. And the more I did that, the more I'd be productive. I never wanted to count how many I had. I just wanted to count and keep delivering that service because I knew I'd get it back, right? The more you give, the more you get. Every time I was dealing with a short sale seller, I was like, how do I get this person out of their situation, help them and move on? The more I do and the more I focus on that, the more I'm gonna get. If you focus more on their needs and what they want, that's gonna come through in the listing presentation. Right? This is a stat from the Association of Realtors. You spend 40 hours on average dealing with one buyer. You deal on average 10 hours with a seller. So for every one buyer, I hope my math is right, but every time you deal with one buyer, you could be dealing with 4 sellers in the same amount of time, right? And time is crucial. Bill Gates can make another $25 billion. Bill Gates can never be 25. So time is precious. Why do you want to be a listing agent? Right? So let's do this. You're a buyer. Buyer, one transaction, 3%, 200,000. You're going to make 6,000. Right? I'm just using just a gross, right? Seller. Out of a listing, you have the potential to make 4 transactions out of it, right? Like I said before, who here has had that listing that's just mushroomed into 5 deals, right? You get the listing, you get the buyer, you do an open house, you take that buyer, you sell them something else, right? Before you know, you did 3 or 4 deals, right? Rocco, I hope you don't mind if I use you an example. I was working with you. You got a for sale by owner listing. You ended up selling it. You ended up getting a buyer from it who needed to sell their house. You sold their house, and then the buyer bought something with you. It turned into 4 deals off of FSBO, cold call, right? Might have been another one in there, but you guys get the gist. So if you do the math, you get the 200,000 for the closed sale. It's 800,000 in volume. All right? And you could do all this without spending thousands of dollars a month on generating buyer leads or anything else that people do. Right? These are your best leads. I'm still a believer that all the best buyer calls are sign calls. So if you have a sign in the ground in front of the listing, someone's calling you, they generally know the area, they can already see the outside of the house. Who here is running an internet lead? And I have. You take them and you pull up in the front of the house, like, oh no, we don't even want to go in. Like, all right, see you later. That won't happen with sign calls. So, the time. How much should you be spending prospecting? Right? I'm saying you should spend at least 15 minutes a day. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot because it's not. But if you do the math, 15 minutes a day over 365 days, you ended up prospecting for like 2 weeks straight. It's just that consistency. I would rather see someone prospect 15 minutes a day, whether they're working on the referrals, new leads, generate whatever, expireds, than an hour a week. All right? I'm a big believer in my personality. I like doing my prospecting in the morning because I like getting it over with. And I like getting it done. It's like going to the gym. If I don't go in the morning, it's never going to happen. I'll find 1,000,001 reasons not to do it. Same thing with prospecting. All right, the first technique I want to go over is expired listings. This is something I've had success with personally. All right? Expired listings, you know they want to sell. You usually have not a high bar of standards to live up to. Has anyone here ever gone on an expired listing appointment and you just walk in and all they just start doing is bashing you don't even say anything. Like, oh, hi, I'm Carl. I'm the realtor. Let me tell you about my last realtor. Like, uh-oh, here we go. And all they do is they just tell you everything that's bad about the old realtor. So all I would do is like, okay. I'm like, all right, well, this is what I do. And it would just be the exact opposite of everything they just complained about for 10 minutes. So by the end of it, they're like, oh, we want to list with you. This is exactly what we're looking for. I'm like, yeah, no, that's great. I'm like, well, all right. All right, just listened and just reacted. So if you can find 15 minutes a day, look what happens when you put the time to dollar productive prospecting. In 15 minutes a day, you can dial 10 times. Regardless of the time of day you choose, you'll probably reach about 20% of the prospects. So let's look at this. You make 10 calls a day for 5 days. You reach 20% of people. That's 10 contacts a week, right? 50 weeks per year, it's 50 contacts. You can just see the numbers here. Percentage of appointments, 25%. I mean, you could really generate some real money by just being consistent and doing it. Right, today we're really just going into lead listing generation. I know a lot of you have been to my listing presentation class. The more leads you generate and the more confident you are in your listing appointment, the better you're going to be. Some agents don't generate as many listing leads as they like because they're still not 100% confident on their listing presentation. So that goes hand in hand with this, is you got to be really confident in your listing presentation. If I go in and do a listing presentation, it's the same thing every time. I control it, not the seller. If the seller really tries to control and fights me over it, I'm out. I don't want the listing. There's too many other ones out there. I've already lost my hair. There's no more, I'm done. I've hit my stress point. So expired resources about getting phone numbers and stuff. These are all some great resources to get numbers, to get dialers. Right, so I was calling expireds and I was just like dialing like one number at a time. I was like, well, this isn't really effective. There's got to be a better way. There's programs like Vulcan 7, Sales Dialer, where you can actually make multiple calls and get the phone numbers that you want. Right? But expireds to me is something that has to be done every day. At the top of my head in this marketplace, I'm not going to name names, but I could think of 5 or 6 agents that call expireds every day. And these 5 or 6 agents have a lot of listings. So it's not a coincidence. The for sale by owner, to me, one of my favorite techniques that gets ignored, right? If you're a real estate broker and you think your agents are in the office too much, just put a for sale by owner sign by the front door. Your agents will never come in. And that's a quote by Mike Ferry. For sale by owners are some of the biggest lead sources, and most agents ignore it. These are people that want to sell. It's pretty clear they want to sell, right? There's a lot of them who are very cocky in the beginning and not very cocky on week 2. You need to be there when they're not that cocky. It's by far the warmest territory a real estate agent can enter. We're going to go into how you just need to be a resource for them. Some agents go in like it's a battle. I'm going to show this FSBO why they need a realtor. I'm like, that FSBO is going to show you the door. Right? Again, this training could have went for 8 hours. Trying to condense everything to an hour or 2. We're just kind of going over these 5 techniques, and I want to give everybody sort of like an idea. And it's really just trying to figure out which technique you're really good at, and then really going after it. You know, there's an agent, and I won't say their name, who went through the FSBO training, and it just started attacking for sale by owners, and has been built up a listing inventory from this training on the FSBOs. And it was nothing more than hard work and nothing more of not fearing the rejection, right? So for sale by owners, I always say this too, right? So the for sale by owner, they list the house on day 1. They're all excited. They're like, I'm going to be able to sell this house myself. And then there's Mr. Realtor that comes along and says, can I sell your house for you? Like, get out of here. They're like, I'm a for sale by owner. I don't need you, right? Day 1, they're all excited. 95% of the realtors hit them on day 1. If you're part of the 5% that's there at the end, that's when you get the listing. Too many agents go after that for sale by owner when the for sale by owner is still excited. They think oh, this is easy, man. Realtors get paid all this money, they don't do anything. Then the realtor comes in and goes, you should list my house with me. And they say, yeah, that's great, get out. Right? With for sale by owners, the biggest thing you have to do is you have to give them value. You have to be there to help them. The for sale by owner will list with the realtor that they felt has their best interest at heart, not who's just trying to list their house. All right? We have an agent in the office that, you know, went and listed a for sale by owner, and they said when I was listing it, my information was all here to the side. It was all information I'd given them to help them. And all the other realtors' marketing and crap was on this other pile. And they had specifically put her information to the side because they felt like they cared about them. Right? So, I always say, you know, you want in the first meeting of the for sale by owner, you want to get to them belly to belly, face to face, introduce yourself. What you want to do is you want to be able to help them. Some things you can do too is you can offer them 3 mortgage attorneys. 3 mortgage reps. People are like, well, why would you offer a for sale by owner a mortgage rep? Right? And you can educate them the fears of what happens on a deal when the buyer can't get their financing and what the consequences are of what happens when the buyer doesn't get the financing. So what I would do is say, hey, listen, here's 3 names of mortgage reps I work with. If you get someone who you think is a bona fide buyer and you think that pre-approval or something looks sketchy, why don't you have the buyer call one of these mortgage reps? These are 3 mortgage reps I work with and trust, and they could pre-qualify the buyer for you. Just thought it would help. Here's a list of 3 real estate attorneys that are local in the area who really specialize in real estate. As a realtor, I've been through the deals where it's not a real estate attorney handling the transaction and it screwed up the transaction. I wouldn't want to see that happen to you, Mr. and Mrs. FSBO. right? Here you go. Here's a list of 3 handyman I work with. The reason I want to give this to you is there's not a question whether or not something's going to come up during your home inspection. It's just a matter of what it's going to be. So here are a list of 3 handy people. So if anything comes up during your home inspection, you can then call one of these 3 people to remedy it for you. Most people don't know a contractor, right? So it's being able to add that value during the time the for sale by owner is trying to for sale by own the house. They're going to be like, you know, that was great. All these other agents just called me. You tried to help. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's a seller's disclosure. It's about standing out. It's about being different. It's not just going in and telling the seller, like, oh, well, you should list with me because I'm Circle of Excellence Bronze. Or I'm Circle of Excellence Gold. Like, what does that mean? It means nothing to the for sale by owner. I don't know, you wear like a Circle of Excellence cape. It's like, it's what's good for the seller. And the more you keep that in your mind, whether it's a for sale by owner, expired, or anything else that we're going to go through, it's about the seller. It's not about you. And the more you can help sellers and show that you can help, the better off you're going to be, right? I think comps and CMA are a great way to get through to a for sale by owner. Sometimes they don't even really know the comps. You can do a nice handwritten note. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is a sale that happened in your subdivision. Not sure if you're aware of it. Any questions, feel free to call, drop it off. Then you could call and follow up. Hey, just want to see if you got those comps that I got you. Did you have any questions about it? How does your house compare to that? Right? So, first thing you want to do is that open the door to the relationship is that face-to-face. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Fisbo. Carl Sanfilippo. I'm not here to try to list your house. Just wanted to give you some information I thought could help you during this process. Well, why are you doing this? The reason I'm doing this is maybe you come across somebody else who needs a realtor to sell their house. Maybe you'll just think of me. If not, you never know where a relationship can go. Here's the information. Thank you. All right. You mind if I check in once in a while and see how your sales going? Because actually, I might have a buyer for it, so I just want to check in. Sound good? All right, great. Just walk away. That's what I would do. Most agents go, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Fisbo. I am the man. I am 100% club. I am this. I am Circle of Excellence. I am everything you ever wanted and more in a bag of chips, and I drive a nice car. Can I list your house? They're like, no. Right? And we laugh, but that's really what happens. Right? It's about building that rapport. Right? So that's week 1. So week 1, the FISBO is all like, you know, like a prize fighter. Like, yeah, I'm going to sell my house on my own and not pay commission. Week 2, it's like, all right, this is going, but I didn't get it. It's fine. I got hit with a couple jabs. I'm all right. I'm going. I'm still going to sell this house. Oh, here's Carl again. He gave me a vendor list. It's good. If something comes up during inspections. Week 3, they're a little more like, ooh, all right, I got hit with a hook. I'm all right. I'm going to sell this house. I'm going to sell this house. My kids say I can't do it. I'm going to do it. All right, week 4, boom. All right, now I'm really getting punched. Right, and I know I'm using like a really drastic way to animate this, but that's what happens. By week 4, they're like, oh man, I'm a month into this. Like, I got to sell this house. I want to get into the other school system. I'm going to start interviewing realtors. Oh, well, this realtor came by and gave me all this information. You know, I should interview him, blah, blah, blah. Right? It's about building that relationship. Is it going to work on every for sale by owner? Obviously not. But if you do this consistently and you keep doing this, it is a great way to build your listing inventory. You get a for sale by owner who's skeptical of realtors and you do a great job, sell their house, get even more money than they would have gotten, you're going to get referrals from it. So the for sale by owner, I think, is such a great space that gets ignored. Because what happens is most realtors go up on day 1, try to get the listing. I'm all that in a bag of chips, and they get sent out the door, and they go, well, that stinks. I'm never doing that again. It sounded so much easier in Carl's training. All right? So this is how I just kind of look. Week 1, 2, 3. Week 1, door to door. Week 2, hand deliver a FISBO package. Week 3, the CMA. Week 4, the vendor list. Week 5, follow up with a phone call. Beyond that, contact weekly by a phone until the home is listed or sold, right? And listen, you could be down this process and it's going to be frustrating because someone's going to be like, oh, I actually listed my house with somebody. Listen, that's just a realtor who was further down the process than you were, or a referral. And that's why referrals are so strong, right? So 50% of the competition will quit going after week 1, after FSBOs. 75% of your competition is going to quit after week 2. 90% of the competition is going to quit after week 3. Everyone's going to quit after week 4. Who's got the grit to stick it out? If you're still around the 8th week, a FSBO has self-discovered you are different from the herd. What, I spelled that wrong, right? Everyone's sharp in this room. So, how do I get FSBOs, right? Zillow. There's FSBOs on Zillow. These are ForSaleByOwner.com, yard signs, right? There's certain listings you see in the MLS, you know they're for sale by owner. Be careful on that, I'm just saying. Land Voice, RedX, Vulcan 7, they're all resources. Yard signs. Who's been the person that's driving down the street and you're like, because you see a for sale by owner, you're trying to take a picture, you're like, the traffic, you're getting honked at. I mean, I've been that, that lunatic. All right? And then you drive by the house, right? Like, feel like you're a stalker, like, did anything happen? Like, I'm gonna get you, right? I try to have fun with it. But I think for sale by owners is a great technique because if you do a great job with a for sale by owner, you will get referrals. Same thing with expireds. Listen, you do a great job at the end of the day with anything, you get referrals, right? But you gotta be good. Farming in direct mail. Truth is, direct mail is not dead. Direct mail does not work when it's not done consistently and effectively. Yeah. I mean, there's a real estate coach, a big real estate coach out there who's direct mail and call to actions, right? I don't know if you guys ever heard of Craig Proctor, but that's what the guy lives off of. Right now, mailing is such a great space to go to because everyone's running from it. Especially in our area, we have some communities where the sellers aren't going to go right to the internet to find their agent. But it's got to be consistent and it's got to be effective and it has to have a good message. For everyone who was at my direct response marketing training, I mean, we went over some of these things, how to make yourself stand out, right? I mean, how many more just sold cards can you see featuring a house I'm never going to go into, right? So it's really make sure that, and the direct mail is a good technique to get in with a luxury market. If you do quarterly reports and make it look like of a luxury community, it's going to make you stand out. A nice piece. Quarterly report, market updates. It's a great way to market to the luxury. When picking a farm, you got to determine how many houses are in the farm and what percentage of the house is farm. Basically, you need to know the turnover rate. If there's 100 houses in the farm and 2 houses sell a year, like, don't farm it. It's 2% turnover. So that means you're hoping that out of the 2 people that one of them is going to call you. And I say that and it sounds ridiculous, but some people pick areas that are just so small, the houses don't even really turn over. People don't move for 15, 20 years, right? Like, if you're going to farm, be in an area where people are moving. Find out how many people are in your farm. Find out how many houses sold in the last 12 months. If it's not 6 or 7% turnover rate, don't farm it. Right? This takes a little bit of extra work. You got to find out how many houses are in. You got to get it from the realist, whatever. See how many houses sold. Like I said, if it's not 6 or 7%, don't go there. You're always going to be safe in a townhouse community, right? But again, find out the turnover rates, and if it's an area you like, you hit it. And you hit it, you hit it, you hit it. You can even combine it with door knocking. Get your face into the community. There are some agents in this area who have mastered that. When you're mailing, do not brag about yourself. I mean, I go back to the circle of excellence thing. Like, people don't know what that means. And I say that because I practically hit every level in one of my real estate career. But I don't know, like I told my friends, I'm like, oh yeah, I made like gold. They're like, what? So you get like a trophy? Oh. You get anything? Like, no. Right? But people don't really know what that means. When you're marketing, you gotta market to people with how can you help them. Listen, at the end of the day, people wanna know you do business and you're professional. I get that. But you really wanna focus on how you can help them, how you can solve their problem, how you can educate them. Whether you're mailing to invite them to a seminar, or you're inviting, you're mailing them and you're directing them to a web page about how to downsize your house. Or if you're mailing to estates, right? People don't know what to do once you have an estate, how you get the estate cleaned out. Like you gotta be that resource. Right? I was just talking about this, using mailings to direct people back to websites. Right? I mean, right? Newsflash, a lot of people don't want to like call anymore. All right? Like I went to go look at a car, like I was gonna call like the sales guy, but I was like, he's gonna get my number and then he's gonna be calling me like every day, right? So you go on their website and you look at the car, and then you go in, you're like, I want this car, and then they try selling you on that car, and it's a whole charade. Same thing in real estate. How many websites you go on that you can't, unless you give them your information, you can't get on? So like people are a little hesitant to call, so sometimes directing them back to a web page is great. I used to do this with short sales. Right? If anyone ever heard my stories about, like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna sell 40 short sales. I just spent $10,000 on direct mail. I got like nothing out of it. It was terrible. Then I read the Ultimate Sales Letter, and then my next mailing, I nailed 3 listings out of it and spent like $600. And all I did was change up my message. The list was the same. It was the message. I directed them back to a website, like a short sale specialist. They go back to the website, they fill out the information, next thing I know, I listed their house. It's all about the message, right? I mean, I am the concept of proof. I spent a mini fortune and got 0 results from it. I made slight changes because I did some reading. It was in Mexico. It wasn't a bad place to read, though. But right, I read, and I figured it out. And I tried it. You got to mail every month. You got to stand out from your competition. Before you mail something out, you need to look at the card and say, what makes me different than the agent down the street who's going to send out this card? And if you can't figure it out, don't send it. Right? If you're specializing in an area, use that mailing to go deep in that area. If you're specializing in a town and you're like, I don't even want to drive outside of this town to do business, you better do so much in that town community-wise that you're everywhere, right? I don't care if you're holding a scholarship at the high school. I don't care if your face is on the baseball park outfield. If you're really that hyper-focused, you should be everywhere, all right? Whether community garage sales, the community events, charity fundraisers. I was on a panel of 3 agents. There was an agent, her name was Joanne Lishovitz in Hillsborough. She's like the #1 agent in Hillsborough. And like I grew up in Hillsborough. And the reason I know her is because like she used to farm my house when I was a kid. So I was on a panel with her and I said, Joanne, what's really your one best technique to generate business? She goes, Carl, the best technique I use to generate business is every year I do a huge breast cancer foundation charity event. And she goes, it is my passion. I love it. I love doing it and I do it consistently every year. And she just kept stressing how much she loves doing it. She says it generates her so much business from referrals and everything else. And she's doing something that she loves doing, right? That's just getting very involved on a very local. And I think she probably has the market share in Hillsborough. And she said that event, and she does it with such passion, and it comes through, right? What a great way to reach out. I'm like skipping slides, but what a great way to reach out to like your past clients. Hey, I'm having this event, love for you to come. This is something I'm very passionate about. I mean, what a great way to stay in front of your old clients. Again, what makes you unique? Why should I list my home with you instead of the realtor who'll do it at half the price, right? This market's getting crazy again. Discount brokers are popping up again. I'm ready for a Mini to fly by my house with Foxtons writing on it. Because that's what happens when the market goes in these cycles. So what's going to make you different? What's going to make you different? Right? Commission's only objection when there is no value. I was talking to a RE/MAX team leader in Toronto. And I guess Toronto is such a hot market, right? Like everything's $1 million. Like, her team did like 137 transactions, she told me, right? Average price like $800,000. She charges 7% commission. She said the average rate's like 4.5. Like, what do you mean you charge 7? She goes, I charge 7 because I can, because I'm worth it. I'm like, I'll give you 7. Right? But she believes it, and she says, I demonstrate to my clients how they, in the end, make more money going with me and paying a higher commission rate, how it puts more money into their pocket. I'm like, I believe you, right? So it's not always that, you don't want to get into the dumpster dive race, I call it, right? Like lowest commission wins. Because what's going to happen is then you're going to be in inspections, and what are they going to do? Then they're going to want more for the repairs and more for this, right? It's just never going to stop. I also say this too, just track your results from your mailers. They make it so easy now. Who here, every time someone calls them and they don't know, they ask how you got the number? How'd you get my number? Really? Every time? I give you credit. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go, yeah. And then like at the end, I'm like, oh, by the way, how'd you get my number? Right? I think it's really hard, personally, like when you're in the moment, you're driving, someone calls, to like remember to ask that. So I think there's really easy ways to track it where you can just take that out. Where you don't have to even rely on yourself. Right? There's a way. Google Voice is such an easy one. Like I always suggest to everybody on their sign to have a Google Voice phone number. So when that sign calls you, you can have it saved in your phone as sign call, so you know that that's a call and you pick it up. Realtors are the worst about picking up their phones. But if you have a sign call on your listing, you're going to pick up that call. I don't care where you are. Sign call, whoop. Right? There's other services like Better Voice. There's other services like CallFire, where you can get a phone number, put that in as your cell phone in your lead source, it rings your cell phone, and now you have all your tracking in place for you. If you do a mailer and you put that special phone number in there, and that's not really your cell phone, and now you're not giving 5,000 random people your cell phone, you call that number, it logs it in for you. So in case you forget to ask, how did you get my number, you now know. It's really easy. So everything that I had for different lead sources had its own phone number. I pull up the report, all right, I got this lead from this, I got this from this, I got this from this, cut this. This got no calls. And I've done this with agents who had a gazillion different lead sources. Let's narrow down where they're coming from. You don't really know what's working and what's not. Let's trim the fat so you're more profitable. All right. This is just something to think. You know, take a second, write that. What makes you better than other agents? What makes you different than other agents? Right? I used to have a cancellation guarantee. If that seller didn't want to work with me, probably I didn't want to work with that seller. Listen, you want out, you can get out. You don't want to deal with me, probably don't want to deal with you. And I got to that cancellation point when I had enough when I felt like, all right, I didn't care if I lost one. But I said, what's your objection? Oh, this is a long term. All right, well, if I don't live up to everything I'm going to say, and here's the bullet points of what I'm going to do, if I don't live up to this, you could cancel. But I need you to tell me what I'm not living up to so I can fix it next time. And if I really failed you, I'll let you out. Go listen to someone else. Okay? I always tell the story too. You're going to get sellers where you're like, can we cancel? Like, you're driving me nuts. Can we cancel? I mean, I had that. I tell the story all the time. I had a listing. It was my birthday. I'm on the honeymoon with my wife. I'm sitting in the Marriott in Maui, and I got a lady calling me, screaming at me. She's like, I want a release. I'm like, you can have it. Because you listed the house $50,000 higher than I told you to. And I did it because it was a referral, whatever, it was just like one of these, like, goodbye. I'm very big in cutting that bad karma out. Too much business out there. Online and social media. Social media is like my weakest part. My social media is all about like Remax and my daughter. Because anything else I put up, I get made fun of by all my friends. So, online and social media. This is an example of Google pay-per-click. Right? If you Google best realtor in East Brunswick, it pops up with these different sites. I have personally okayed referrals back to these personal sites. So if you don't think it works, I've sent them thousands of dollars because of when the agents had a referral from one of them. If I wanted to get residential listings, I would easily put together a YouTube video with Steve. I would go on a site like Fiverr or something, get it boosted, and I would play to these keywords like best realtor in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Because there are people out there Googling these terms for a realtor. It's not the biggest way, but it's a way, right? So what happens is, when you Google something, these top 3 results, I mean, you guys all have seen it before, it says ad. People are paying to be on these top spots at Google. People are also paying a lot of money to build what they call SEO. Don't ask me what it stands for. Search engine optimization, something, right? All right. All I know is what it does is it makes you rank higher on Google, so when you do the search term, you pop up. And I know there's companies that can charge an arm and a leg to get you there, and that takes time. What Google pay-per-click does is gets you up there instantly. It's a pay-to-play. And that's why Google stock is worth so much. Right? Home valuation sites. I know an agent who actually really does well with these, and I thought there was no way possible. But this is actually all done in the follow-up details. So what people do is they do Facebook ads, they get people to register, they get their information. The problem is it's the follow-up. It's list building. You get their contact information, you get them into a CRM like Follow Up Boss or something, and it's the follow-up. Right? I always say that's where the dollars are made. They're made in the follow-up. Right? If I was going to do listings, I would do a video, I would put it on Facebook, I would boost it, and I would do a seller seminar. I would have people click on it, it would go into an Eventbrite page, and people could register. And I would target sellers. People get nervous when they want to sell their house. How many times have you been there with the nervous sellers as they're signing the listing papers? They're nervous about showing it. They're nervous about, is it clean enough? They're worrying about, is it updated enough? They've been in the house for 40 years. What are my closing costs, right? And the video doesn't have to be a professional video. If you could do it on an iPhone. There's apps that help you so it doesn't shake as much. I think it might actually be called Shakeable. I forget off the top of my head. But I would do the video and I would blast it to the community I want to get listings. And I would blast it and blast it and blast it. Community outreach, again, this goes in, right? If I'm really trying to dig deep, I would do a video where there was some type of community event that I was sponsoring and I would get it out, right? If I would want to get big into North Brunswick, on North Brunswick Day, I would be pumping out videos about my booth that's gonna be there on North Brunswick Day. Or some type of little giveaway I'm gonna have for people that come and visit my booth. That's under the $20, whatever, right? Get that out. I don't love Zillow. I know, I really don't. But it's part of the game right now. I'm not saying you have to pay to be on Zillow, because a lot of times I don't think that's the right answer. But you should have a good Zillow profile with a recent picture, your sales updated, and if you're gonna have reviews, have them there. Some people freak out, like, oh my God, I got a bad review. How many here before they went on a vacation, like read the reviews, right? TripAdvisor or whatever, like my wife and I do, are like, all right, let's read the reviews. And then it turns into the game, like making fun of the bad reviews. Like, oh, they didn't have a pool towel available for you at 2 o'clock, so we're not going on this vacation. Guys, it makes you look more real if you had a bad review. Yeah. It doesn't make it look like a robot just did all your reviews, right? Like, I love reading the bad reviews on vacation spots. Like, there was no beach chairs left when I went to the pool at 2 o'clock. Like, yeah, duh. Don't go to the pool at 2 o'clock then.
Actually, if you have one bad review and 25 excellent reviews, somebody looks at that bad one going,
but that bad, right, and that bad review makes you look more real. So that's why I say, if you get a bad review, don't freak out about it, embrace it. Because the general public realizes there's gonna be bad reviews. But I think that actually shows you're doing more than everybody who's just got 5 stars. This is the best thing ever. Then people start getting a little skeptical. This sounds too good to be true. 500 people and nobody didn't like them? Yeah. Come on. So embrace the bad review. These are resources to help you, right? I mean, I ran Google pay-per-click. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. But I went on a website and paid somebody across the world to do it for like $100. Freelancer.com, Fiverr, onlinejobs.ph for virtual assistants. My presentation, I did not make this look nice. Someone on Fiverr made it look nice for me, right? There's so many talented people throughout the whole world that can make your stuff look good. These are great resources. People are like, oh, I gotta hire an assistant to do this, this, and this. A lot of this stuff you could just outsource on task-based things and not have to deal with all the other stuff that comes with hiring. The 5th and final technique. This is the technique that should be bread and butter for every single agent. And if it's not, it needs to start today. Your referrals and your sphere of influence. This is 90% of agents' business. I had an agent I sat with, we went over their deals. There were 60 deals. The agent didn't realize a third of their deals were referrals. And I said, you spend all this money in these 2 other areas and you totally ignore your referrals? And it's working just as good as all the stuff you're spending money on. The agent just looked at me and goes, I feel really dumb right now. I'm not trying to make you feel dumb. I'm just trying to open up your eyes that if something's working at this high of a level, put some time, energy into it and really make it work, right? Most agents, I talk to a lot of agents and I ask the question, you sold me a house last year. How have I heard from you, in what manner? It is the same response from 90% of the agents. Yeah, and I text them once in a while. I send them this like crystal vase thing, right? Your referrals should be systemized. This is not bread and butter for most agents' businesses, and they ignore it. I'm like, why are you ignoring this? Because I don't want to reach out. I don't have anything to say, right? A lot of people fear that. I don't want to annoy them. So now you need to realize what you're reaching out to them about so you don't feel awkward, right? And I get it. If you call and say to somebody, hey, Bob, it's Carl. I know I sold your house a year ago. What's up? Just following up. Bob's on the other end. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, Carl, good. No, yeah, great. Everything's great. All right. I'm like, all right, cool, Bob. It's like a race to get off the phone because I don't want, it's awkward for me to make the phone call. And poor Bob, it's awkward to get the phone call. But the referrals are most agents' biggest source of listings. You sell a buyer a house, they're not going to say, oh, you need to list your house. But no, my agent sold me my house. I don't think they can list your house. The general public doesn't break it down typically into buyers and sellers. I think agents get in their head more about that than the general public, right? And it's also, you gotta stay in front of them. We wake up every day in this business thinking, how can I get more business? Our past clients don't wake up every day thinking, how can I get Carl more business? Right? Who here had a past client put on a house with somebody else and you're like, I can't believe they did that. I haven't talked to them in 5 years and they go list with somebody else? The nerve of them. Like, what do you mean the nerve of them? You haven't talked to them in 5 years. It's not their fault, it's your fault. You haven't stayed in touch and kept reinforcing why you should do it. Right? Truth, you can be the nicest agent in the world and you can never get a referral because you could just be terrible. Right? I know some of you have been in some of the trainings that my personal coach, Wayne Frederick, has done. He always tells a story about, he's got a haircut like mine. And he says that he goes to the barber and the guy always scrapes up and screws up the back of his head and it hurts. And he goes, but he's the nicest guy, but I would never tell anyone else to get a haircut from him. I know some of you were thinking right now, like, oh, I know someone like that. Yeah, I use them. I don't know why. They're nice, but you probably wouldn't recommend anyone to use them. I got a contractor I've been using for years like that. He's a headache, but he's my headache. But I wouldn't give him to somebody else. You could be really good at this business. I mean, you could be really, really good and never get a referral. They cannot like you. They can't remember you. Right? I use this as an example. I mean, how many people have come across an agent, because I hear, I don't get how this agent does all this business, like, they're not good agent, they don't even know how to fill out the contract, like, I'm a better agent, how do they do that much business? Right? I know everyone's thinking of an agent out there that they're like, yeah, I know that agent. So just because you might be better doesn't mean you're going to get more referrals. How to generate referrals? Could somebody say, Carl, here's how I generate my referrals. Here's my system. I need you to do it for me. Just put my face, handle it all, but this is my system. Excuse me. I'm sure there might be a Buffini person in the room who said, oh, I could do that. I get my cards on the 5th of the month. I get them out on the 15th of the month. But how many of you say that you could truly have a system of how to reach out to your past clients and referrals and sphere of influence? Right? Not many. And it's the biggest part of most people's business. You want to run your business as you can take it and franchise it. This is why I recommended the book, The E-Myth Revisited, because this is what they talk about. They talk about running your business like a business. Good to great. If you get your referrals on autopilot, this job becomes so much easier. I mean, who here doesn't like working with referrals? It's the best. You are already validated. You just can't go in and screw it up. And what I see happen is somebody gets a referral and they go into the listing presentation and they go in a little lazy because it's a referral and they don't get it. And they wonder why they didn't get it. It's because you didn't treat that referral like you would have treated somebody else. So it's important to treat it all the same, right? So this is kind of like a little circle about your clients and how network and acquaintances out. Again, I'll send this out to whoever wants the slides. But it's really, really focused on your referrals that people are going to scream on the top of the mountain, hey, you need to list and sell with Carl. Right? There's the airplane story. Who here was the first person to fly the airplane? A lot of you heard this story, so this might not work. But all right, who was the first person to fly the airplane across the ocean? Right. Who was the third person to do it? I'll give you a hint. She was the first woman.
Amelia.
Yep. Who was the second person? Bert Hinkler. Bert Hinkler did it faster and less fuel than both of them. But you know what? He wasn't the first to do it, and Amelia Earhart, created a new category. She was the first woman to do it. And poor Bert gets no love. So it's about creating the category and being top of mind. So some things you can do to really, well, I say like knock it out of the park, is you can set up your own referral networks, whether it be a closed Facebook group, right? The best is when you can refer people to other people. It just expands your referral network. I mean, I don't know how many of you have ever belonged to BNI or LaTip or any of those groups. I mean, I haven't. I'm a morning person, but I can't talk to 50 other people in the morning. But you can build your own little network group between your contractors, mortgage reps, attorneys, whoever, that you give referrals back and forth to. It's a great way to generate business and to generate listings. Every time you get a referral, you gotta send a thank you card, handwritten. Thank you for thinking of me. You can go online and design on Starbucks these gift cards that are like $5. You can like put your website on it. You can really like personalize it. I mean, yeah, you can't even get like a drink at Starbucks for $5, right? It's the thought of it. You get one of these Starbucks cards, you make the initial investment and you send them out and people thank you. You send them like a little reward for referring you, then they're like, oh, I want to refer them again. It's making yourself stand out. It's making yourself memorable to the experience. I bought a car once, right? And the sales guy calls me 2 days later, like, oh, thanks for buying the car. You know, if you know of anyone else looking to buy a car, I'm like, okay, Bob, goodbye, right? Then I bought my next car, and I buy the car, and the salesman calls me and goes, hey, Carl, just want to let you know, on Saturday, I'm having free car washes for all my clients. In the area, come back, get your car washed. I'm like, oh, I like this Bob better. Excuse me, both calling with the same purpose, just presented differently. I'll stay. Just presented differently. Oh, client appreciation party. Like, I'm big on client appreciation party. I think you should do it. Doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It could be a picnic. It could be whatever, something. I promise you, if you do a client appreciation party, you spend a little bit of money on it, you're going to get a big return. It could be something as simple as a happy hour. It could be something elaborate as a dinner. I don't really like dinners because I think everyone should be able to walk around and mingle and socialize, but you can do it. I've been to client appreciation parties for people that have helped set up their client appreciation party, and it's amazing the flow and people just building relationships, flowing referrals back and forth. And the agent told me, he's like, you know, I spent like maybe like $1,800 on this whole party. I've gotten like 8 deals in the first few months from it. He did like a giveaway and everything else, but it just gets people excited and it gets people thinking of you. And it's not always have to be like, by the way, if you know of anyone thinking about buying or selling, like refer me. Like, people get it. They have a good time at the party. they see that you do something different, people want to give you business. They want to help you build it. So implement a system, right? This is a system that you could do with mailers and everything else, right? Consistent mail outs. If you do one a month, that's 12 touches. You could do occasion cards. That's 7 touches, thinking of you cards, calls. I mean, you should be touching these people 20 times a year in different ways without annoying them. If we had more time, I went through the whole system of the mail outs and everything, but it's a system. It's long. But the more referrals you get, the more you're going to enjoy this business, the more income you're going to get, and it's going to be your #1 lead generation for listings. If you're able to master your referrals, if there's anything anyone takes out of this today, it's just mastering your referrals. And treat it like a business. Because once you do that, it will expand your business. So the key is to really find out what your strength is. And then once you find that strength, you have to really, really double down on it, and you have to treat it like a business. You have to treat prospecting, and listen, your prospecting could be doing your working on your referrals. That's prospecting. It doesn't have to be cold calling and knocking on doors and getting yelled at. It could be working on your referrals. And I actually think when you build up your referrals, it's very gratifying. Because that means they thought so much of you, that you did such a great job, that they're telling other people. And that's the biggest compliment you can get. So those are really the 5 techniques that I wanted to go over today. I really thank everyone for coming. I hope you guys at least just got one thing out of it that you think you can use. Thank you.